Hello, and welcome back to another inspiring episode of the Achieving Unity Success Formula weekly podcast, where we turn chaos into connection and purpose into action. I'm your host, Mark Intrican, and today's episode is about the Achieving Unity Success Formula through Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, a retired U.S. Army Ranger, a paratrooper, and a former West Point psychology professor. He is one of the world's leading experts on the psychology of combat, the science of human aggression, and the effects of violence in so many ways. It's the violent media on society in itself. So if you believe in putting relationships and those closest to you first and profits and selfishness second, you'll find alignment in the things that he does to put things forward in what we do and what we also do through the Achieving Unity Success Formula. But first, before we dive in, let me quickly introduce my company, Reality Focus Dynamics, where this all does begin. On the screen right now, you'll see my gift to you. You is going to come to these meetings and see what it's about, and it's all about ending anger. And I know people don't like that word anger, but we can call it frustration because frustration is very dangerous in many, many ways. We can talk about hate and that disconnection. And people like the word hate, but it's a disconnection from people in society. And then we also talk about prejudice. And there are about 41 different types of prejudice that we don't even think about every day. Please read my gift to you, this Unity Guide, and give me feedback. And if you'd like, contact me. We have your QR codes on both sides for you to get in touch with me, get in contact with me, see the guide, read the guide, and let's talk more soon. The Achieving Unity Success Formula, we are on weekly podcast number 42. We started back in September of 24. Dr. Mort Orman started this, and another wonderful person that talks strongly and has books on ending anger. Our success formula is every Wednesday. Starts at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I hope you'll put it on your calendar because we'd like to see you here every week. It's all about being successful, and that's what the success formula brings to us in so many ways. It shows us what we need to do, how we need to do it, and where we can be in the process. As you see in our logo here, it truly represents the heart of what I do. Notice how focused is right in the center. It sits right in the center. That's because everything that we explore, from reality focused dynamics to success focused solutions, it all resolves around clear, intentional direction. In fact, that idea of focus is so central to me, to us. It's even built right into our business phone number, 303-362-8733, which spells 303 focused on your phone pad. We believe that by truly focusing on what matters, we can create meaningful change and achieve lasting unity. Please use those QR codes, get in touch with me, or give me a call. 303 Focused. I'm looking forward to focusing in that direction with you. We have proven compassionate strategies that turn conflict into lasting harmony at home, at work, in every relationship that matters. No matter where you've been before, what's occurred, we help you get over those processes and go forward in unity. Are you ever frustrated by tension or arguments? Our 7 step roadmap gives you the tools to move from conflict to collaboration quickly and confidently. Are you ever craving stronger trust and connection? With us, you can discover communication tactics that build respect, repair relationships, and unify teams and families alike, personally and professionally. Transform conflict into connection, together, achieving unity. Because unity inspires homes, it shapes society, and it transforms workplaces. We help you turn that frustration into understanding. Have you ever heard somebody say, "What the frustration?" Yes, that's where it comes from. We can find value in our actions instead of reacting in anger or frustration. We show that anger holds no value. Anger is nothing more than actions not gaining effective results. ANGER, actions not gaining effective results. Anger has no value. Yes, life happens in every relationship, personal relationships, professional relationships, work, social, everywhere. From parenting time to partnerships, from the boardroom to the bedroom, and every room in between. We show you how to embrace your challenges and encourage a more inspired and inclusive future. If you check my blog, you'll see that I have several articles on converting that EEI and DEI into actions that we can help build each and every day. We have one vision, one goal, achieving unity in every area of life. Our call to action? Let's ditch the drama. How much drama is out there? Let's get stuff done. We show you how to turn your life from what may seem like a dumpster fire into a well-oiled machine. Achieving unity, the path to stronger relationships, inspired leadership, and lasting change. Talk to us about coaching, consulting, courses, and keynote speeches. Contact us today. We'd love to hear from you. The 7 Steps to Achieving Unity Success Formula course is starting soon. Living life fully through present moment awareness. Our next course starts on August 7th. It's a Thursday, 7 Thursdays in a row, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Achieving unity does not solve problems, but it builds the bridges to possibility. Encourage every person's growth by replacing criticism with compassion. Inspire change through hope, not pressure. Every step forward matters. Include every voice so no one feels unseen, unheard, or unworthy. When we replace that disconnection with empathy and frustration with understanding, we create a space for trust, collaboration, and shared success. That is how we thrive together, achieving unity. Our next, and again, I hope you put this on your calendar. We're here every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Next week, my speaker has not committed. It's been a situation of not being able to find the right times to work with them and talk. But we want to focus on U.S. independence. Today, before the 4th of July, Independence Day here in the United States of America, we have a wonderful guest, and I'm so honored to be here. Next week, we want to talk more about the independence, more about the Constitution, and how we can use that going forward for the next 51 weeks until we're back here before our next 4th of July, our next Independence Day. On July 16th, Vicki Mazel will be here, championing memory enhancement. All of us want to work on our memory. I won't go into the details right now, but it goes to some great ideas about it. May think you have a memory problem, but it goes beyond that. It's not a memory problem. Sometimes it's our attention and our thoughts of keeping that. On July 23rd, we have Dr. Ali Lakarani, Dr. L. He's going to talk about the 4 key ways to optimizing brain potential. Awesome situation of helping us be better and do better and take the things that we're learning even today, take them forward, make them better. Then we have Tiffany Kellogg, knock your socks off. She works with moms without children. She has a lot of good parenting concepts and ideas that I know you will want to share with us. She'll want to share with you. Come on back. Let's listen to more about that. Then Lori Sheridan. She might heal, rebuild, and resolve. Create the life and love you deserve after toxic relationships. And we see so much toxicity today, so much negativity, so many people finding wrong. To do and work from that. And please remember, in August, all 4 of our podcasts are from moms, mothers, and parenting on the mother's side, on the mom's side, to open up some of those ideas. Last month, we did 4 weeks of fathers in June. August was the 4 weeks of moms. Let's learn more about how we can work together, mothers and fathers, Another one of my domains. The best parent is both parents. We include grandparents in that. So please come back and join us. All 4 weeks in August will be on the moms and mother side, but we have a couple of other ones between now and then. Please come back. We want to hear your feedback, and always love your questions. Today, again, as I mentioned, I am so honored. Anytime I see someone, the police force, the armed services, all the people that give us the freedoms that we have today, we're going to be learning today the price of freedom and the warrior's burden. We're talking to retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. He's a U.S. Army Ranger, a paratrooper, former West Point psychology professor. He's one of the world's leading experts on the psychology of combat, human aggression, and the effects of violent media. That's the media that we watch, you and I. He has authored the bestsellers on killing, on combat, widely used in military, law enforcement, and mental health training. And we'll get to talk a little bit about that mental health part of it today. He trained tens of thousands of professionals, testified before Congress, contributed to national policy, and consulted on major tragedies, including school shootings. His work on stress resilience, the warrior mindset, and public safety has shaped modern preparedness across the U.S. He continues to educate and inspire those who protect and serve through speaking, writing, and training initiatives nationwide. Please help me welcome Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman.
Hey, Mark.
Dave, how are you?
Yeah, I am blessed. I'm truly blessed. I'm so excited to be on board with you and your audience and your great work here. I teach resiliency. And resiliency, in a nutshell, people who do not get PTSD. Say keynote speaker at the first Department of Defense Wide Resiliency Conference, opening speaker at the second DoD Wide Resilience. And at the core of resiliency is this concept, people who do not get PTSD. And we use an example of Viktor Frankl, wrote some important books, walked out of a Nazi death camp, a
Oh,
skeleton, endured unthinkable evil, and did not have PTSD. Upstairs, he was just fine. And he said the heart of the matter was simply this. He said, I realized the only thing in the universe those Nazis couldn't control is how I choose to respond. And really, that lies at the heart of this whole focus and resiliency. Is the only thing in the universe you can control is how you choose to respond. And if we give way to bitterness or complacency or denial, that's the one thing we can control. And we will not give the world that victory. And so this concept is compatible with classic Stoicism and Christianity. We've all heard, the Serenity Prayer, that to do the things I can, to let go of the things I can't, and have the
okay.
wisdom to know the difference. And that rolls back to your focus. What's important right now is the only thing universe you can control is yourself, and let go of everything else.
I and that is so awesome. And how would you like me to address you? Can I call you
Just
Dave? Can I
Dave,
call you
Dave,
Dave?
Dave, Dave is great,
Dave,
Mark.
thank you so
Thank you.
much. Well, I asked that because I am so honored. My dad was in the Army. He was in World War II, and I have my brothers have both served. I have a nephew that is a colonel as well. I am just so respectful of the freedom that I have today because of all of you, and it's so wonderful. I am glad though that you're talking about that resilience because so many people, and as you mentioned, we don't know that it is our mind that controls what we do. And we're in control of our mind, right?
Yes, yes. The only thing in the universe we can control. And so, you talk about anger. I talk to my cops and military. I'm on July 5th, I'm going to be talking to all the people in security in the Baghdad embassy, the Marines, and it's the only embassy with an Army battalion attached to it for security purposes, and others that have been invited to join. And we talk about this idea that you don't lose your temper, you give it away. It's the only thing
So
universe
well
you can
said.
control. It's the only thing you can control. You don't lose your temper, you give it away. Now, that's easy to say. It's not all that easy to do. But the first step is understanding there's never an appropriate time to lose your temper. And I talk from a physiological standpoint. I try to lay a foundation of sympathetic and parasympathetic, which are both part of the autonomic nervous system. And so I'm an old OCS grad, came up through the ranks, prior service buck sergeant, and I ended up teaching at West Point. At the time, I was the only OCS guy teaching at West Point, and I loved it. And the top military minds, the type psych minds put their heads together. So what do we want these people to know about psychology? And right at the top of the list is this physiology of the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And sympathetic, we all know is kind of fight or flight response. We all
Yes.
know we got to control that. We can't let it go. And we've got to control fight or flight. And then on the other side of the equation is often called feed and breed or rest and digest. When we talk about rest and
Mhm.
digest, one of the first things we learn to do is to not crap ourselves. Now, that's hard. Most
Yes.
animals never learn that. This is the autonomic nervous system. It's automatic. It's not under conscious control. What makes us human is bringing these things under conscious control. So this whole idea of the autonomic nervous system, we got rest and digest. And if you ever house trained a dog or potty trained a kid, that's hard.
Right.
So I tell people, there's never an appropriate time to crap yourself. And there's
Never.
never an appropriate time to lose your temper. Now, that's easy to say, and a lot of people get angry right there and just reject it right there. Uh,
Exactly.
I was a bad father. I did okay. The kids turned out all right in spite of me. I'll tell you some of the keys. I'm ashamed of times I lost my temper. I was a better grandfather. I asked my audiences, how many of y'all got kids? How many of y'all ever looked at your parents with your kids and said, are you the same ones that raised me? And the answer is no, they're not. They're at least 20 years old or more mature. It's called maturity. We want to get it as fast as we can. I wish, as a young buck sergeant, I wish as a young father, somebody had told me that it's never a good thing to lose your temper. And if the,
Ever.
and as a military leader, as a law enforcement leader, if the day-to-day pissant things make us lose our temper, when things are going to hell and people are dying, you don't have a prayer. We all recognize and embrace the fact that our leaders have got to remain calm. Military and law enforcement leaders, when people are dying and things are going bad, the leaders must remain calm. And it goes all the way through history. We talked about the stoic Roman, the inscrutable samurai, the laconic Spartan, the stiff upper lip Brit, and the day we talk about the quiet professional. The quiet professional. Those are all different ways of saying the same thing, self-control. No, nobody respects our temper tantrum. Leadership is never about screaming at people. We've all had leaders that screamed at us and we despise them. Don't be that person. I tell people in the military, in basic training and in OCS, the drill sergeant, they get in their face and they scream at you. It's a form of stress inoculation intentionally used in that one circumstance, completely inappropriate anywhere else. People think, oh, the drill sergeant goes so normal, they're out of control. No, no, they're the last one to do that because they
Mhm.
know it's a game that we played in one specific circumstance, completely inappropriate anywhere else. And so I wish somebody had told me as a young sergeant that the key to being a leader is being a better person, and being a better person is about self-control. So we got fight or flight.
Self-control.
We got fight or flight, getting that under control. We got rest and digest, right? And feed and breed. And
I
feed and
like
breed.
those.
There's a biological backlash. After a traumatic event, there's a backlash from fight or flight to feed and breed. I train first responders. I train our nation's largest fire department and many, many others. And after a traumatic event, we see it with victims. After a traumatic event, people seek intimacy. They seek reassurance. Frank Herbert called it the universal drive to immortality through progeny in the face of death. They seek sex. I trained all of the United States Army sexual assault and harassment investigators and counselors. And I said, what may look like a pattern of promiscuity after a traumatic event is actually a normal biological response. You need to know this. I tell my first responders after a traumatic event, you may find yourself going home and having very intense relationships. Both partners are very invested in some very intense sex. And it's okay if it doesn't happen. If it does happen, you make the best of it. Here's the key.
Make the best of it.
Off duty, wait. until you're off duty. It is astounding how many first responders get in trouble every year for having sex on duty. And they're blindsided by this biological response. So these things are not excuses. The fight or flight hormones kicked in. I couldn't control myself. I choked him out. Oh, okay, we understand. No. The feed and breed hormones kicked in. We couldn't control ourselves. No. Being human is about controlling these things. So these things get so tragically misrepresented. Somebody says, "Oh, Grossman says you're gonna kill somebody and go home and have great sex." You know what? They left out the part about off duty. They left out the physiological foundation of it. But what's so evil about that is not that they're misrepresenting me, but that people have this normal biological response and think there's something wrong with them. So what makes us human is taking the autonomic nervous system, fight or flight, feed and breed, rest and digest, and bringing it under conscious control. And the first one we learn, like I said, is to not crap ourselves. And then we learn to not lose our temper. And we learn to have appropriate sexual relationships with appropriate people at the appropriate time. And then, of course, when we talk about feed and breed, there's a real tendency to overeat and
Hmm.
as a stress response and focusing that appropriately. And so much of what we need to do as a human being is take that animal part, that autonomic nervous system, bring it under conscious control. And the first step is simply knowing I can tell people there's never an appropriate time to crap yourself. There's never an appropriate time to lose your temper. And that's hard, but we'll talk about ways to do that. We'll talk about tricks that make that possible and how we can train people to be better at that.
That is awesome. I love the things that you're talking about and the things that you're doing. But I look at some of your experience, it amazes me. I mean, you've worn a lot of hats, and just to be able to touch on all of your experiences. But you've been an Army Ranger, you've been, as you talked about, a West Point professor, you're a best-selling author. When people ask you what you do, how can you sum that up without needing a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah.
I mean, Dave, the depth of your experience and knowledge is amazing. How
Well,
do you tell people what they do
that's
or what
kind
you
of me.
do?
I just tell them I'm old retired soldier, doing the best I can. And just knocking out the books one by one. Got 16 books in print. We've done a
Congratulations.
work, and one of the things we've done recently is done a lot of work on the faith side of the equation. One of my books is on spiritual combat, and we got the book Bulletproof Marriage, Christian Book Award finalist. You can leverage your faith into your relationships, and one of the things we talked about recently, it's really important, is why would anybody stay in the fight? Why would a cop or a firefighter do what they do in these times? And Jesus said, "Greater love," and it's all about love. I asked him, "What's the opposite of evil?" Evil is absence of love, just as darkness, absence of light. And we defeat evil with love. Love for our family, love for our children, love for our fellow man. So I tell my cops,
Oh,
Jesus said, "Greater love is no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends." So what manner of love is this, that our firefighters, our cops would lay their life down for strangers? They will die for people they've never met. What manner of love is this? But hear that verse one more time. Greater love is no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends. But there are many ways to lay down your life. There's many ways to lay down your life. And sometimes the greatest love is not to sacrifice your life, but to live a life of sacrifice. And so when we talk about love, you talk about compassion. Passion is the root of compassion. What makes a great
yes.
cop, what makes a great firefighter is passion. And passion is the root of compassion, but even more importantly is empathy. And you say, what if it was my family trapped in that burning building? What if it were my
Right.
spouse that had been murdered? What if it were my child that had been assaulted? What makes a great cop, what makes a great first responder is empathy. Empathy is love with the shoes on. Empathy is love in action. I tell them if we love them enough to die for them, and we do, that's our job. Do we love them enough to be patient, to be kind,
Wow.
to be
Hmm.
compassionate at their hour of greatest need? And that comes back to controlling yourself. You look at a traffic stop and gone bad. And when that cop lost his temper is when everything went downhill. That cop's being paid by the hour. He's got all day long. When that cop loses his temper is when the whole traffic stop goes bad and everything goes downhill from there. And so I tell my cops, paraphrasing Viktor Frankl, it's a big game. You lose your temper, you lose the game.
You
And
do.
especially with people who have lives on the line, military leaders, law enforcement, first responders. You lose your temper, you lose the game. And so the greatest achievement is to learn to control that temper. And I was a better grandfather. I've got a son who's got 9 combat tours and just retired. I got a grandson who's deployed right now. He's engaged
Wow.
a girl, and in the very near future will be great grandparents. And I was a far better grandfather, and I'm going to be a lot better great grandfather. So
I
we
love
just
that.
and I think the heart of the matter is that we can just keep being better people. One of the greatest joys. I'm 68 years old next month. I'm 69. One of the greatest joys is I can say, yeah, I'm a better person than I was 5 years ago. I'm a kinder, more patient, calmer, better person than I was just 5 years ago. And we can keep being better people. And that should be our goal is just keep being better.
So how do we do that? That's one of the things,
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave, that I talk with a lot of people about, and it goes back to the simple term I used earlier, and I keep it in every podcast, and that's about anger.
Yeah.
Actions not gaining effective results.
Yeah.
Why do we do it? How do you work with the people that you're working with? It's such a struggle, and but yet I work with theoretical corporate people, people
Yeah.
associations, people universities. You work with people that are in those life
Yeah.
and death situations.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do what do
So
you
so much of
use?
that is at the root of it all. I really believe with all my heart. And I asked, what's the opposite of fear? Why will people die? A mama critter will die for her baby. She loves her babies. Audie Murphy, the most decorated American soldier in World War II, was asked one time why he did it. He said, they were killing my friends. Audie Murphy loved his friends more than life itself. And the heart of it is love. And so this compassion that we feel for others, this love that we feel for others. And here's the point. Now I'm a Christian, and God told us our job is to love God and love people. Jesus said, "A new commandment I give you, to love others as I have loved you."
Mhm.
You could even make the argument it replaces the Ten Commandments. We're under a new covenant, but at least it supplements. There's now 11 commandments. And a new commandment I give you to love others as I have loved you. Jesus loved enough to die for us. So
Mhm.
our mission in this life is to love. And the primary power, but primary tool in spiritual warfare is prayer. And we should pray for more love. We should ask every day for more love. And when we lose our
I
patience, then we made a mistake and try to do a better job the next time.
exactly. I am so in with you. I'm a Christian, go to church every Sunday. I help the church build, no doubt about it. But I help people work with prayer because prayer means getting up off your knees and doing something.
Yes.
Use the information you're receiving from God as a guidance
Oh,
and get
yes.
up and do something.
Yes.
We can't sit there on our knees all day long. That's just one of the biggest things that we want to work on in the process. Congratulations on all your children and grandchildren.
Thank
That
you.
is
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so excited to see and hear that. That's tremendous. I was going to go in because my dad was in the army, going to go into the Marines, but I was injured in a major accident. Darn it, I was 18 at the time, a little bit rebellious. And since I probably wasn't going to get to fly the big jet because of my head injury, neuro injury, I I didn't join, and I wished I would have because of
You're
things
the
I would
wrong
learn
person.
and meeting people like you in
Yeah.
what you do. So you've done so much again in everything, and you've written the books. Like you just showed your own killing and your own combat. Each of those have become like a must read for soldiers and first responders.
Two
What
books,
do
Marine Corps
those
Commandant's required reading list. It's
require
pretty
reading?
amazing. For over 20 years, the books are the Commandant's on killing on combat. What an honor, what a blessing. My book on combat, if I may, it was this is where we talk about sympathetic, parasympathetic, but my book on combat, translated in many languages, translated into Ukrainian. And last year it won the Ukraine, last January, it won Ukraine Book of the Year award. And in May and June of last year, their military brought me out to Ukraine to train their troops. So I was 67 years old at the time, spent my summer vacation in the war zone. but they've embraced this book and this dynamic of sympathetic and parasympathetic and understanding how the body responds and what to do about it, and then how it can become PTSD and how to prevent that. And really, in a nutshell, after a traumatic event, neural networks are established. The sympathetic nervous system kicks in under times of great need, and a neural network is there. And then something triggers that, a sound, a smell. Well, you think about the event, and that sympathetic nervous system kicks in again, and that is not PTSD. It's normal. How you deal with it will decide whether or not it becomes PTSD. And what you got to do is make peace with the memory, separate the memory from the sympathetic nervous system, be able to talk about it and think about it without this physiological arousal coming along for the ride. And it comes back to bringing the autonomic nervous system back under conscious control. And there's a couple of tricks we have. The breathing exercise in the book is
Yeah.
just
Okay.
taken off, and another one is just a big drink of water. We found when somebody starts going off on that, to re-experience the event, just take them stop and take a big drink of water. And it makes you breathe and you swallow and it hits the stomach. And those are all parasympathetic processes. It sends a message, we're safe. We're safe. I tell people, a deer's being chased by a wolf. He's time to get a drink. I can't get a drink. I'm being chased by a wolf. The very fact that you stop and take that drink of water sends a powerful message. So I tell my cops, I said, let's say you're getting a witness statement from a victim of a crime. If this individual becomes emotional, A, you don't need all that drama, but B, they're re-experiencing the event. They're beginning to link the memory to the emotions. And we don't want that. So put a bottle of water in front of them, just the power of a gift. Crack the seal, put a bottle of water in front of them. And as this victim of the crime, as they give you their witness statement, every time they start to become emotional, make them stop. Take that big swig of water and regain control. A, you're
If you
getting
don't,
the calm, rational statement. The need B, you send them down the path of mental wellness. From the very beginning, you teach them to separate the memory from the emotions. So one of the healing, fire, EMS, military, we all do a debriefing, an after action review. We all sit around and everybody talks about what happened. And it's really important to fill in the memory gaps. People have big memory gaps, and to fill in the memory distortions. People just flat remember things that did not happen. We sort out the memory distortions. We fill in the memory gaps. People heard of CISM or critical stress management or debriefings. But the new component, everybody has a bottle of water in front of them. And as they talk about what happened, if anybody starts to become emotional, stop. Take that big swig of water, and from the very beginning, separate the memory from the emotions. And that's part of that path to healing. We take that debriefing we've always done. Every soldier knows, take a knee and take a swig from your canteen. Well, now we just take a deep breath and take a drink of that water and regain control and begin the process of separating the memory from the physiological arousal to be able to think about it, talk about it without the sympathetic nervous system kicking in.
that's beautiful. That separate that memory from that emotion is so powerful. I work on the breathing exercises also, starting on the first Tuesday in August,
Yes,
starting a program to help end domestic violence and intimate partner violence. And
yes,
I hope to borrow your thought there to bring a bottle of water. This will be online, it'll be virtual,
yes,
but to
yes.
bring that bottle of water to our seminars. And
Yes,
if you don't mind, I'd like to use your example.
run with it.
And what
I got, a lady, I've been using it. We've learned it. It's just kind of taken off in the community. But a friend of mine, she's a therapist for a federal agency, and one of their people in a deadly force incident, they fly her in and she debriefs them. And now she puts that bottle. She used to make them breathe. That's what I used to do and stop and breathe and regain control. Now she puts that bottle of water in front of them. And she
I
told
never
me,
thought of that.
she said 6 years of college, 14 years of practice, and that stupid bottle of water is doing more good than anything I've ever done. Now, if that doesn't do it, if that doesn't help you separate the memory from the emotion, there's other things. There's something called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And what you do is you follow a visual stimulus as you talk about what happened. The midbrain, the autonomic nervous system, is a very simple organism. It can only do one thing at a time. So while you're in the front yard chasing a ball, they call it the puppy inside, the puppy's in the front yard. While you're following that visual stimulus, the autonomic nervous system is tied up, and you're able to talk about it and think about it for the first time without the emotions come along for the ride. Very often, after just one or two EMDR sessions, we completely separate the memory from the emotions.
And so many of us have learned that from the time we're young, from our parents to school. We've learned things that were not the best results
Yeah,
in what we
yeah,
do through the anger and the things, all the
yeah,
things that you're talking about right there. And our ability to make that happen and to open that up to people, like I think that you're doing, and thank you so much. Because if people don't know it, they can't use it, right?
exactly. And
So we've
that
got,
breathing exercise is in my book. The drink of water is not in my book. It should come out in the last 5, 10 years. But I've got case studies mailed to me and emailed to me, organized by subject. And of all the subject, the breathing exercise is by far the largest folder. People using it in all kinds of crazy environments when it just pops into their head and the breathing's there and it saves their life in a really traumatic event. So keep pushing that breathing. It's really given the strongest feedback of anything I've been able to pass on. But the water takes it to a new level.
I think it does too. And I'm so glad to be able to talk with you, number one, but just to listen to some of the things that you've learned. And as I look at the books you've written and just looking at On Killing and On Combat, I can see where you're coming from on those. But I also think to myself, as far as the people that I talk with, what do those titles mean for the average person,
Yeah,
average mom, average dad who's never been in a firefight, but might
yeah,
be fighting some battles of their own at their
yeah.
home or work? How do you?
And that kind of ties in with spiritual combat. Because the first book on killing came out in 1995. It was intentionally provocative, and killing is this taboo word. We don't even like to use it, and we need to confront the reality of it if we're, and I tell law enforcement, in law enforcement, our goal is never to kill. We're using deadly force because we believe there's no other option in
And
the face
only in
of
those
danger.
situations, right?
We're using deadly force to save lives. The moment that person is no longer a threat, their life is precious, any other life on the planet. But nevertheless, as a result of what we do, there's a chance lives will be lost. In the military, very often, that I train predator and reaper operators across America, and their predator operator has been ordered to kill that terrorist. If they do not kill that terrorist, they failed in their mission. And once again, we've got to come to terms with it. But in the law enforcement, our goal is never to kill. In so many ways, our strength comes from that, our purity comes from that. And so many times, a traumatic event, the family's there, community's there, somebody's down, and the cop slaps on a tourniquet and applies CPR and completely diffuse the situation. And there's power in that. But another
Mhm.
thing that there's power in is we talk about de-escalation, and anybody can do de-escalation. The first step in de-escalation is be calm yourself. That's where the breathing comes in. Just stop and take that breath. But a lady wrote something, it's been taken off, and I'm not so sure where she got it from, but the three most important sentences you'll ever say, and the first sentence, the most important of all, whenever you got somebody having a problem, whenever you just the first words that come out of your mouth, please tell me what's wrong. Ha! Somebody wants to hear my story. Somebody cares. Empathy, endorphins, let them vent. When we're in a frightened mode, when the sympathetic nervous system totally takes over, the forebrain shuts down and there's no rational thought. How do you calm that person down? Well, the swig of water, there's other tools, but as a verbal tool to get right inside their OODA loop, please tell me what's wrong. And then the next thing, let them vent, let them talk on. And the next thing is truly, I'm sorry this is happening. And the third and final sentence, I will do everything in my power to help you. And just those three sentences. So much of life is about having the right thing to say at the right time. Please tell me what's wrong. Let them vent, let them go. I'm sorry this is happening. I will do everything in my power to help you. There's de-escalation in three simple sentences. But the first step in calming somebody else down is to be calm yourself. And that's where the
And
breathing
listen.
and offering that bottle of water and other tools. But when we talk about the parasympathetic processes, uh, I trained a major spec ops unit, and the master sergeant that was my host, His wife was an ER psychiatrist, an emergency room psychiatrist, and she told him something sweeping through the ER around the planet. If they got somebody out of control tearing up the emergency room, you know what they do? They grab a bag of M&Ms. They rip it open, they shove the guy's face, would you like some M&Ms? And a large portion of the time completely diffused the situation. Now, the spec ops guy telling me this story, he said that I blew it off, touchy-feely stuff, right? And but this kind of guy carries a gun off duty, kind of guy you'd want to. He said 2 different times, I'm off duty with my wife. I think I'm going to have to draw my gun and fight for our lives. He said both times she reaches in her purse, grabs a bag of M&Ms, rips it open, shoves the guy's face, which like some M&Ms, and completely diffuse the situation. So I've got this
Like
little
that.
it's that power, but I've got this little life hack. Remember, with my cops, it's a big game. You lose your temper, you lose the game. Military
Right.
leader, you lose your temper. Parents, you lose your temper, you lose the game, right? So what I tell cops now, I tell cops I like Tootsie Rolls, the little short ones, you know.
Mhm.
They're individually wrapped, they stay clean, they're good in the heat, they're good in the cold. They remind me of Halloween candy.
Yeah.
And so what I was telling them, you get a little baggie of these things and put them in the dash of your car. You only get to have one, somebody's ugly to you. Someone gives the finger, ha, I get a Tootsie Roll, right? Somebody mouth off to you, ah, I get a Tootsie Roll. And you actually they meant to harm you and you turn something positive. So a cop told me, now this is genius. He said, Dave, I was pounding down Tootsie Rolls. I was eating way too many Tootsie Rolls. So I changed to Smarties. You know those little pills, little Smarties? He
Yeah.
said, this is my little chill pill. He says, somebody gives me a finger, I get a Smartie. He said, the only problem is you're never happy at just one of those little things. I want
That's the
another
word,
one.
like potato chips,
I want
right?
another one, right? So I want another Smartie. So I drive around town, I smile and wave at people. Somebody get the finger, I get another Smartie. And, and, and and what I just described to you is actual cognitive behavior therapy. Through your thoughts and your actions, you rewire the way you process something. Somebody tried to hurt you. Now you can't control that idiot does. You know, you can't control them. What's the only thing universe you can control is how you choose to respond. And if you let that bother you, then they win, and we'll let them win. So that what they meant to hurt you means, I get a Smartie. And it's actual cognitive behavior therapy
Yeah.
where through your actions and thoughts, you reprocess how you deal with these things. And that's our goal as human beings, is to get control of that autonomic nervous system, fight or flight,
Exactly.
eat and breed, and bring those things under control.
Yeah, that is so true. And Dave, what I'm just appreciating so much right now is we talk a lot on this podcast about preparing for challenges and how people can train their minds, as you're saying, for everyday stress. And what I'm hearing, and help me out here, what I'm hearing you say, the things that you talk to our wonderful protectors, our police officers, our fire department, all of our armed services, you're talking about the same things. You're training the people that go to war and to battle. Those things work for them, but they work
Indeed.
for us
Indeed,
also.
they do. Exactly right. Hey, one final thing, and it's the most important point of all in so many ways. Mark, we're in the middle of a global epidemic of sleep deprivation. It impacts everything. The
Does.
video games, the social media, the binge watching shows, all of these things are scientifically designed to steal our sleep. And sleep deprivation is just like being drunk. And so after 24 hours without sleep, your impaired judgment, just like being 0.10 above legally drunk. And thing to understand is 24 hours without sleep, and you are essentially mentally ill. Now, somebody who was drunk, set aside the fact that they're drunk, if that behavior and that thought process of a drunken person, if they're driving, their skill at driving, and everything else, yeah, that would be mentally ill. And after 36 hours without sleep, and there's really a prolonged process.
Wow.
You can have 4 hours of sleep, and after 20 days of that, you are destroyed. You're a destroyed human being. And after 36 hours without sleep, you are truly mentally ill. You are irrational, you are aggressive, you are angry, and your inhibitions have been completely repressed. On the third day without sleep, you are psychotic. You will see things and hear things that are not there. Any graduate of Army Ranger School tell about hallucinations on the third day without sleep. One of the key things to understand is that the link between sleep deprivation and suicides around the planet have
Oh,
exploded. Mental
yeah.
illness around the planet has exploded. So right now, it is physically impossible for you to take your life. The drive to self-preservation is too powerful. But alcohol will inhibit the drive to self-preservation. You get all these other problems.
Mm.
You add alcohol, and suddenly suicide becomes possible. But sleep deprivation works exactly the same way. And you're only drunk for
Wow.
a brief window. And children are not habitually drunk. So teenage suicides have exploded. One study says suicide is the number one killer of our teenagers, tweenagers, 10, 11, 12-year-old. Teenage girls' suicide rate has tripled per capita in just the last decade. So around the planet, every demographic group, every nation on the planet, suicides exploded, except the Amish. And the new factor is this global epidemic of sleep deprivation. So when you look at a
Mm.
world full of anger and hostility and irrational behavior, and you wonder, what is the root cause? What is the new factor in the equation? The new factor is sleep deprivation. It's a huge factor in traffic deaths that exploded worldwide. It's a huge factor in suicide. Sleep deprivation creates chronic pain, which is the key factor in the opiate epidemic. Fentanyl's an opiate, almost always illegally used. Fentanyl kills 40, fentanyl kills 40 to 80,000 Americans every year. Most years we lose more people
Wow.
in 1 year. We lose more people in 1 year to fentanyl overdoses than the entire 20 years of the Vietnam War. Why opiates? But and the prescription opiates on top of fentanyl is killing many, many more people. Why are opiates a drug of choice? Because the sleep deprivation creates chronic pain. And when you're sleep deprived, the opiates hit you with just a triple whammy. So we've got this all there. There's a huge link. And I tell people, do your own, look online, Sleep deprivation, suicide, boom. Sleep deprivation, mental illness, boom. Sleep deprivation, traffic deaths, boom. Sleep deprivation and chronic pain, boom. Sleep deprivation, Alzheimer's and dementia, huge. So when you hear about suicide, you hear about Alzheimer's exploding. Why don't they mention, do your own search, the suicide, sleep deprivation, Alzheimer's, do your own online search. Why don't they talk about it? Because it means
Wow.
turning
I'd
off
look at
their
that.
product, turning off the TV, turning off. The head of Netflix said their competitor is sleep. Netflix said their corporate goal is to steal your sleep.
Yeah.
They don't care that they're killing people. So I I uh, I do a lot of school safety training. I trained at East Texas School Safety Conference. I said, we're going to talk about keeping your school safe from homicides, but I'll bet you haven't had any homicides. I bet you've had some suicides, some traffic deaths, some drug overdoses. I bet you got a problem with mental illness. So what can we do about suicide? Sleep. You want to walk out that door and save a kid's life? Teach them three things. What can we do about traffic deaths and drug overdoses? What can we do about suicides and mental illness? Sleep. You want to walk out that door and save a kid's life, teach them three things: the number of hours they need at that age. And as adults, we need 7 hours of sleep. You cannot get by in less than 7 hours. Teach kids how much sleep they need at that age. Number two, sleep in the dark. One of the greatest life hacks you'll ever have is sleep with a sleep mask. And number three, shut off caffeine shortly after lunch. The caffeine is making us have bad quality sleep. We're in the middle of an epidemic of mega doses of caffeine. Just teach your kids three things: number of hours in need, sleep in the dark, and cut off caffeine shortly after lunch. It also applies to us. And
I am, yes, so
yeah,
glad. And I love what you're talking about, and I want to touch on some of that just a little bit more. We
yes.
have about 12 minutes left, but can we talk a little bit? I think about some of the seeds that you're mentioning right now, but can we talk about media and the violent video games, the movies? You mentioned Netflix, the TV. What's the truth about how this stuff affects us? And what can parents, teachers, and mentors be thinking about
Well,
to help?
my book, Assassination Generation,
Okay.
is really what I recommended so much. And in 2005, the state of California overwhelmingly voted to regulate children's access to violent video games. Violent visual image, especially violent video games, has a physiological effect on their body. They go into fight or flight mode. Fight or flight hormones are flooding through their body, and they get catastrophic shutdown of left brain processing. When you're fighting for your life, where your meal comes from tomorrow is not even on your radar screen. So when the fight or flight hormones are flooding through your brain, there's catastrophic shutdown of left brain processing. So when the kids are playing the video games, they're put into fight or flight mode. It's a physiological arousal. It's the goal of the game. and they become totally immersed in it. And so the state of California, Hollywood said, we're good at this. Silicon Valley said, Roger that. Arnold Schwarzenegger signed the law in 2005 based on this brain scan research, another good research. And the video game industry fought all the way to the Supreme
Oh,
Court
sure.
to sell any game to any kid at any age. And they conned seven old men that never played Pong in their life, seven Supreme Court justices overturned the law that the state of California overwhelming. Now, nobody knows that California even passed the law. Nobody knows that the data was so powerful that Silicon Valley and Hollywood and Arnold Schwarzenegger and the state of California overwhelmingly said we need to regulate these things. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that this industry fought all the way to the Supreme Court. Nobody knows that they're intentionally stealing our sleep. And you'll see all kinds of public service announcements on suicide, but they'll never say you played this game for 48 hours, going to shut you down now. So,
But the
social media.
teaching, though, I sorry to interrupt you, but that teaching is the biggest point because people don't realize it.
Yeah,
We can't
yeah,
grasp something we
yeah.
don't understand, right?
But when my second grade teacher told us cigarettes kill people, I went home and hid my dad's cigarettes. And if we teach a generation to get enough sleep, right, regardless of what the video game is telling us, and I tell my cops, if somebody showed up work drunk, you kick his ass and fire him. If he shows up to work or in the military, he shows up to morning formation sleep deprived because he played games all night, he needs his ass kicked. There's nothing cute. There's nothing funny about showing up work drunk. There's nothing cute. There's nothing funny about showing up sleep deprived because you play games all night long. Or you're on social media or you watch movies all night. You got a sick baby at home. Man, we got you covered. And I tell them, a lot of y'all look at me like a deer in the headlight right now. I said, dude, you're talking to me. It's okay. You never knew. But now you know I'm right. He cannot show at work drunk, and he cannot show at work sleep deprived because he played games or on social media or binge watching shows all night long. And once you hear that, you know it's right, and we begin to create a cultural change to get people better equipped to be able to do things wisely and well in our society. This handful of sand in the engine block of our society, every single friction point
Okay.
in our society is being hampered by this sleep deprivation that just eats away at the fiber of our civilization, every different direction. And it's hard to be calm, it's hard to be rational when you're sleep deprived. And you are literally mentally ill after 24 to 36 hours without sleep. You're psychotic after 3 days without sleep. And
And
they're
what you're
not,
saying, it makes so much sense, Dave. I appreciate it. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but what you're saying is solid information, but we don't know about it. And
yeah,
until people
well,
like you are able to come and tell us, how can we help that get into our schools? Is it going into our schools now?
well, next Monday, I will be teaching the National School Resource Officers Association. I will have 1,200 school resource officers. I've only got 2 hours. And if I only had 30 minutes, the whole sleep deprivation thing and going home and you want to save a kid's life, you want to save a kid's life, just teach them about sleep hygiene and sleep management and start understanding that link. And again, do your own research. I'm a West Point psychology professor. I lost a little brother to suicide. I
Oh, I'm
studied
sorry.
suicide intensely, and it enrages me that I did not know about the link between sleep deprivation and suicide until about 8 years ago. And I thought, I wonder if there's research on this. And I put in one search, sleep deprivation and suicide. Boom, study after study. What it said, not only is sleep deprivation a key factor in suicide, it's the most remediable factor. We can't do anything about your finances or relationships right now, but we can get you a
We
good night's
can
sleep
help.
thinking now. And why don't we
Mhm.
know this? Because that means turning off their product. And like the tobacco industry, my dad started smoking when he was 5 years old. He just plunked a nickel on the counter and started at 5 years old. Well, he candy rots your teeth, right? They didn't care. They were killing a 5-year-old. They just wanted to sell their product. And
Well,
his,
again, that goes back to education, though, doesn't it? Back then, back when my dad started, for example, they didn't know what they knew. He
yes,
quit when he was
yes,
somewhere in his 60s,
yes.
but he didn't know back then.
Now we're
This
learning.
ed Now we're learning, and this education and knowledge. And let me kind of focus on where I'm coming from. Unity,
Yes,
especially in
yeah,
some of these modes in crisis, it's crucial.
yes,
Tell me, in your experience, what helps teams or communities stay united when this pressure, like you talked about, that
yeah.
pressure's on?
Yeah. The critical factor is love. It comes back around to what we're talking about. To stay focused as we love our children, as we love our God, as we love our nation, as we love our way of life. Love means the worse it gets, harder we fight. And if we love our fellow man, if we love our children, if we love our way of life, then we stay in the fight. We stay on the side of righteousness and goodness, and we try to call people towards love, and we try to save these lives. And people, there's only one thing in the universe that will allow people to lay their life down, and that's love. But sometimes the greatest love is not to sacrifice your life, but to live a life of sacrifice. That's my line. It's going on my tombstone. And that's what we're
Love it.
calling people to, this life of sacrifice. And then after the motivation is love, but the body's got to be ready. I got a degree in psychology and counseling, but the first step in counseling is have you had a good meal? Have you had a good night's
Mm.
sleep? We cannot cure the mind until the body's ready. The Salvation Army, they always understood you had to have a good meal in your stomach and a good safe place to sleep before you could even begin to think about spiritual matters. And before you can do anything else, we've got to make sure that they've had a good night's sleep, and nothing else is going to be possible until that mind and body is healthy. And we're in the middle of
And
this epidemic of sleep deprivation that eats at every other aspect of what we do.
turn that TV off, turn those games off, turn over
Yes.
whatever it has to be. Absolutely.
Yes.
Dave, we've got about 4 more minutes. I want to thank you again so much for being here. Just the doors that you have opened today is amazing. Tell me, and I went to high school in Lovington, New Mexico. You're going to be in Roswell, New Mexico, I think, in September.
That's
Tell
right.
us more. How can we get in touch with you? In
Thank
closing,
you.
tell me a little bit about, tell
Thank
the
you.
audience, how can they
Yeah.
contact you and what?
Well, GrossmanOnTruth.com. The truth on combat, the truth on spiritual combat, GrossmanOnTruth.com. But we've got, and these are Bulletproof House of Worship security safety training, but we're really putting an umbrella of spiritual warfare over it all. So in Roswell, New Mexico, in September 18th through 20th, we have our Bulletproof House of Worship, and but we're really rewiring this, not just House of Worship safety, but we're spiritual warfare. So not just your church safety team, but everybody, your prayer ministry, your pastor, your youth ministry. There's a place for all of them to come in and to be guided down this path of spiritual warfare. And of course, where the most powerful tool, Ephesians chapter 6, the full armor of God, ends with the radio. Pray ceaselessly in the Spirit, with the helmet of salvation, boom, the sword of the Spirit, and then pray ceaselessly in the Spirit. And the prayer is the radio. And that's our most powerful weapon of all, is to
Wow.
our higher authority. And what do we pray for? We pray for more faith and we pray for more love. Those are the two things we should be praying for always. And what's our mission on this earth? To love God and to love people. A new commandment I give you, to love others as I have loved you. So come to our website, check out the books with all my heart, Assassination Generation, on combat, on spiritual combat. We got a place on the website to personalize books, give them away as gifts. We'll sign them and personalize them. Just make a request to us. And every morning I get to sign a bunch of books and personalized books, one of the high point of every day. And check out the website. We're going to be doing 4 a year, once every quarter, and we'll every time zone in America, once a year, we'll have one of our bulletproof spiritual warfare conferences. But I also do
Excellent.
a lot of other good work. Bring me out to do school safety for your whole school district. I do a lot of that, and it's been terribly well received. Put me in,
I can
coach.
imagine. That's
Yeah.
so well needed.
No, it's a two-way street though, Mark. Iron sharpens iron. And I'm so glad to be on your website, on your podcast. And I thank you for your endeavors. And episode number 42, the life, the universe, what's the meaning of the life, the universe, and everything? 42, right? The
That's right.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy said 42. They asked this great epic question to this great machine, and it's been years. What's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? 42, right? So here we are, episode 42. And
That's where we are.
that's what we got. And I'm so proud to be on board. I praise God for the
Thank you,
opportunity.
Dave.
And I pray that God will bless your endeavors, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. And the same, and blessing for you. Okay. Your message focus on that rigorous preparation, that resilience, and empowering individuals to perform under extreme pressure. And that aligns directly with the Achieving Unity Success formula by emphasizing the importance of encouragement, inspiration, and inclusion to build strong, resilient teams and communities capable of overcoming adversity. Your approaches stress the need for mental and emotional readiness, that support, that collaborative unity to achieve success and thrive in those challenging environments. It's just been so awesome having you here today. Any of you, if you felt a spark of any kind to what David's talked about today, please go out to his website. Look him up on the internet. He's easy to find. He's out there everywhere. Please check him out. Go to his website. He has a donation page for his books. Please go out there, give a little, share a little, reach out to all of us so we can stay focused on turning the chaos into connection as we
Okay.
are achieving unity by harnessing that power of encouraging, inspiring, and including others in building better businesses, better lives, and a better world. Life is truly what we make it. So let's make it together. Let's make it awesome together in
Yes.
unity. Dave,
God
thank
bless.
you again. I am
God bless
so
America.
honored. Everyone, this will be out on YouTube approximately on Tuesday. I'll send out a note to everybody, and it'll be on the internet. Please go out there, look at it, watch it again. Thanks again to Dave. Appreciate him, his donation page, his books. Buy them. I will. Let's do it together. Thank you all. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman.
God bless
This
you.
has been so awesome. Thank you for your service, your time, and your commitment. You're so appreciated.
God
So
bless you. God bless America.
thank you. God bless America. Hope to see you all again next week, everyone. Till then, cheers.